psychological thriller. It's quite psychological. It is thrilling. And yeah, I just think it's so well written and such a engaging story, and it's been sticking with me since I finished it, which doesn't usually happen to me. So I loved it. I decided I wanted to make a video on it. I'm going to talk about why, a little more specifically, why I like the book, the reasons why, and I'm going to talk about the themes that I see in the book, but I am not going to give any sort of spoilers. I won't go into detail about the story. I will only talk about things vaguely. This video is more just to, well, obviously for people to relax too. You don't have to pay attention, but if anyone's listening, it's to also encourage people to read this book, especially if the things that I talk about for why I liked it so much and the themes that are in there, if those speak to you, then I'd really recommend reading it. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the book, and I'm also going to, at the end of the video, talk about the movie based on this book from 1940 by Alfred Hitchcock. This is also considered a classic. It's considered a classic movie. I didn't hear about it till reading the book though. But people really love this movie, and I decided So, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is what I consider right now to be my favorite book that I've read. First, I just want to talk about the themes that I noticed in Rebecca. Maybe some of these themes are things that you would be interested in reading about. So I thought that I would give my take on the many themes that are present in this book. So, the themes that I see in Rebecca are anxiety and also specifically social anxiety. And identity, self-esteem, gender roles, relationships, trust, age or sort of maturity, and finally class and sort of wealth and income disparities. So now I want to talk a bit about why I love this book so much. So the first reason is, of course, the writing. The prose in here is pretty lyrical. It is very sort of thought-provoking and inspiring. And it's funny at times. It is very engaging. It feels like you are really inside the main character's head. Which I really liked because I liked the main character. So that's another reason that I loved this book. I've never quite experienced this sort of connection to the main character of a book. I usually am sort of indifferent to the personality of the main character. I never have found myself that I remember really disliking a main character, as some people talk about sometimes when they're discussing books. I tend to just feel like I'm a bit indifferent and I have a connection to them, but it's not that intense. But with this book, I felt a strong connection to the main character, and I really felt her emotions because of the way that they were described, I think. So those are probably the two biggest reasons that I love Rebecca. Maybe what I'll do is flip to some of my tabs and read what I had liked about it. The first line is one that people talk about a lot. Last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. That only really has much meaning for me after reading the book, so I'm not sure why people make a big deal of it otherwise, but let's see. I am glad it cannot happen twice, the fever of first love. For it is a fever, and a burden too, whatever the poets may say. They are not brave, the days when we are 21. They are full of little cowardices, little fears without foundation, and one is so easily bruised, so swiftly wounded. One falls to the first barbed word. There's one line that I do remember from the book, and it is tabbed, but it's a spoiler, so I won't say it. Yeah, I think all the other ones are too much of a spoiler. Another reason I love this book is the character development. The main character is what I'm referring to, and her character development. Sometimes I read books and I don't see that, but I really like it when a story incorporates character development, so the character will change throughout the story. And I really liked, her name isn't Rebecca. I really like her development over the course of the book. And finally, I like the story. I would call this a psychological thriller. I think other genres that it falls into are historical fiction, maybe horror, but I don't think so, personally. But I definitely find this to be psychological in nature. And I find it to be thrilling, I guess. I did have this sense, especially through the second half of the book, that I was on the edge of my seat, so to speak. Really reading quickly, turning the pages quickly. And the story has a lot of twists and turns. Not crazy plot twists, although I was surprised by one plot twist. But they weren't crazy, more just that there were a lot of interesting turns of events in the story. And I also enjoyed the ending, although I do wish that it had wrapped up a little bit more. I do think that it was a good ending. So those are the reasons that I thought of for why I like this book so much. I gave this book 5 stars on Goodreads. I would consider this a 5-star read, and I think it's considered a classic for a reason. So those are the reasons I love Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Hopefully these sounds were relaxing. if you have read this book, please let me know if you agree with anything I've said, or if you disagree, or if you did like it, if you've read any books that you think are similar that are also good. Hello, I am back. So, I am having just the hardest time filming this video. Cleo is going nuts. I'm going to have to cut a lot out when she's playing and making noises. You'll notice that I am in a different outfit. I had to take off the one I was wearing. It was becoming too uncomfortable. It's so weird. I got it in my head that I didn't want to wear these headphones anymore during my videos. I want to wear these. But I had to order these. I didn't have any that would work with my mic. So I ordered them off of Amazon, and I was waiting all day for them to come, and I thought that they would in time for me to film, but they didn't, so I just went ahead and filmed the other parts with my big headphones. But then I was like, I don't want to wear them anymore. I want to wait for these. So I kept waiting and waiting, and I was in this uncomfortable outfit, and I was like, I can't wear this anymore. So that's why I changed. Anyway, like I said earlier in the video, I wanted to talk about the movie Rebecca that is based off of this book. Again, there are multiple movies based on this book. I'm talking about the Alfred Hitchcock one. And I want to make it very clear that when I'm discussing this movie, I am going to be giving spoilers. And because this movie is based off of the book, there will also be spoilers for the book, unfortunately. I thought about making this its own video. I decided against it because I thought that it would be too short, but feel free to let me know if I should cut this part out, because I'm worried that people will be upset if they care about the book, and they're spoiled. But if you're here paying attention, I would highly recommend skipping this last part of the video if you want to avoid spoilers for Rebecca. But honestly, I was just really excited to talk about this movie. Just like the book, I really loved the movie. I think that I really loved the movie because it was so similar to the book. So they really did do a great job at adapting the book to the movie, and they actually kept the story really similar. Now I'm going to talk a bit later about some changes that they made to the story that I didn't like, but overall they actually really kept the story the same, and they also even used the exact same writing for the script in certain places as the book, so it was like a direct adaptation in certain places. There were some lines in the movie that were some of my favorite lines from the book, so that was really cool, and that's probably part of the reason I liked it so much. I'm making this video partly because I think that this is a good movie regardless of if you have read the book. But, so I'm encouraging everyone to watch it, but I also think that you're more likely to enjoy it if you've read the book. So I really liked the movie. I would give the movie an 8 out of 10, personally. Which is pretty high for me. The movie is, so I said it earlier, but it's from 1940. So it is in black and white. I can't remember the last old black and white movie that I watched. And I wasn't sure how I would feel about that, but because of the story being somewhat dark, I thought that the black and white fit with it so well, so I really actually liked the black and white. So this movie was one of the only classics that I've watched. I can't even think of any other ones. I just don't watch them because I figure that I'll be bored, but this movie is not boring. It is, and I don't think it would be boring even if you haven't read the book. I would definitely consider this movie a psychological thriller just like the book. I could rewatch this movie. I probably will rewatch it multiple times. One huge reason that I liked it so much is it brought the main characters, Maxim, and our unknown main character, really to life, and especially our main character, the lead. I really loved her. She brought this the juvenile young woman from the book to life. I didn't think that whoever they had as the actor would capture that as much as the book, but she really did. And also the change in her over time, depending on what was happening in the story, because if you've read the book, you know that there's a point where, again, spoilers, there's a point where she talks about how she doesn't feel anxious anymore, that Mrs. Danvers isn't really affecting her anymore, and she's really acting like the mistress of the house, like she's in charge, and that was reflected in the movie a bit. And weirdly enough, I also didn't expect this. I really enjoyed the chemistry between the two leads. Although the relationship is definitely controversial, I think, like some people think that it's really problematic that there's such a big age difference. The character Maxim, the guy, is in his late 40s, I believe, and the woman is 21. And you could say that's problematic. I can see that, but like when I when I read the book and when I watched the movie, I don't get the sense that this is where the interpretation comes into play. But like me personally, I didn't get that vibe. I didn't get any sort of abusive vibe from Maxim. But I definitely would understand if people did, and I think that's like something that they really got out of the book, perhaps. But that's not something I felt or paid attention to. Weirdly, I liked the relationship, and especially in the movie, it felt like they weren't trying to make it an abusive relationship, but really a true loving relationship. And there was this age difference that caused some tension and some lower self-esteem on the part of our main character. But I actually liked the relationship so much, like I really bought into it. So really, I really thought the actors had chemistry and understood the assignment. It was clear to me that they had read the book. I obviously don't know if they did, but it seems like they did. And they really understood the characters. But yeah, I really loved the relationship and sort of the romance elements in the movie. I found myself really wanting as much of that as possible, to see as much of that as possible. I really liked it. And I had never seen, I think both of the actors were really big actors in their time. I had never seen anything they had done though. But I really loved it. I really, with the I forget his name, I should have noted it down, but the guy who played Maxim, I thought that he was really good at creating psychological tension and really capturing that. It was cool to watch an old movie where it was clear that they didn't have the luxury of like multiple takes and stuff. So there was some bad acting that you got to see, but it was kind of like you just know that it's because of the limitations that they had back then. So I kind of liked it, didn't mind it. And overall, I just really liked the acting. I really liked the casting for these characters. I liked Mrs. Danvers. I was really excited to see who they would pick for that, because she's described in such a unique way in the book. And the only thing I felt is that I wish that, this is me being nitpicky, but I wish that they had made her someone who was taller, because I'm like more of a, like I pictured Mrs. Danvers when I was reading as this sort of stick figure. It's like very thin and tall. The actor was more just average height type thing. But I really did like her anyway. I think that she looked like her still. So, what else did I want to say? So those are the things I can think of for why I liked it so much. But I did want to talk about the things that I didn't like that they changed in the movie. It seemed to me that the first half of the movie-ish was pretty much a direct replication of the book. But then for the second half, and I could be misremembering things from the book, but I thought that, okay, big spoiler. So the spoiler is that Maxim, so it's assumed throughout the beginning of the book, like the first 3/4 of it that his not ex-wife, but his late wife, Rebecca, had died accidentally when she was sailing. But in reality, we find out that Maxim killed her. And I thought I remembered him killing her with a gunshot. But in the movie, it was more accidental. It was more him killing her by hitting her, and then she fell and hit her head and died that way. And that to me was a big change, because it is more accidental. Like, he didn't really intend to kill her, whereas in the book it was very clear that he had planned, well, he didn't plan it, but he decided, I'm gonna shoot her and kill her. He knew he was going, to kill her. Whereas in the movie, it was more accidental, so it just changes the whole vibe, sort of that motivation to kill Rebecca. So it made it feel less thrillery to me, and less exciting, less interesting too, because if you read the book, you know that they stay in a relationship even after she finds out that he killed Rebecca. But to me, that tension goes away if it was more of an accidental killing. So I didn't like that. I don't know why they did that. But I'm also worried that I'm misremembering the book. They also changed the end because our main character doesn't go to see Dr. Baker when they're finding out what happened to Rebecca and the fact that she had cancer. But I liked that whole part of the book when she went with, and there was a lot of anxiety there that was explored. I think they probably cut it out of the movie because it would have made it too long, and maybe people would have been felt it was not necessary or something. So I kind of understand, but as a lover of that part of the book, I didn't like that change. I am glad to have gotten these thoughts out about my favorite book so far, and a really great movie that I loved. So I hope that people will check them out, and I thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, especially if you don't even care about what I'm talking about and you're just listening. I hope, as always, that this was at least a little relaxing. I hope to see you soon.